ready for some Miami Heat basketball with Deron Butler on Kendall Sports Network.
Good Friday evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hope your Friday night plans include some basketball tonight. I'm Deron Butler, welcoming you to another edition of Heat Zone Live, courtesy of Kendall Sports Network. After a very busy, or should I say, not so busy, trade deadline for all 29 NBA teams, except one, who we will cover tonight, the Miami Heat are in Beantown as they take on a familiar foe and rival in the Boston Celtics, who recently added a new star to their lineup, and that is former Chicago Bull and Orlando Magic center Nikola Vucevic. That's right, the Miami Heat once again see the Vooch, this time in Boston Celtics green. And although the midseason trade deadline had come and went, and a lot of people, including myself, are criticizing the Heat for their lack of enthusiasm and getting into finding some deals that will help them get back into the top 6 of the Eastern Conference. Much of it has fallen in the front office, but we'll get to that later on in the episode. We'll get to that later on in tonight's broadcast. But right now, I want to talk about the 3 keys Miami will need to do in order to win tonight's game. Key number 1, get back to defense. Again, going back to the Atlanta Hawks game, the Miami Heat showed very little defensive effort against the Hawks, especially when Jalen Johnson was knocking down some baskets and getting triple doubles all over the place. So the Miami Heat need to get back to that defensive mindset. Key number 2, getting second chance points. It seemed like Miami's offense couldn't do anything. They couldn't really get any rebounds. They couldn't get themselves back into a regrouping position on offense. So it really showed what Miami was doing at that point against the Hawks. So if I'm Miami, I'm gonna have to go for second chance points. That means more offensive rebounds and chances to get to the free throw line. And third and finally, setting picks and keeping the defense on their toes. Miami needs to set some picks in order to go up against Boston. And I know that the Celtics like to hit threes, so if possible, Miami needs to get the pick and roll to work for them. Otherwise, they're going to be looking very confused and lost. So right now, the players are warming up. We have the national anthem being played, and when we'll come back, we will have the starting lineups and opening tip-off for tonight's game. Keep it here on Kendall Sports Network, home of Heat Zone Live. And we are back. Here's a look at our starting lineups for the Miami Heat. We have Norman Powell, Davion Mitchell, Pelle Larsson, Andrew Wiggins, and Bam Adebayo. And for the Boston Celtics, we have Luka Garza, Amos Keita, Sam Hauser, Jaylen Brown, and Derek White. Our key matchup features a pair of all-star scorers as Jaylen Brown takes on first-time all-star and first-time father Norman Powell. Shout out to Norman Powell being a first-time in everything. So right now the players are warming up. They are getting themselves hyped and ready for what should be a fun matchup between two Eastern Conference rivals. Plus the debut of Nikola Vucevic in the Boston Celtics. Tyler Hero is still nursing that rib injury, and of course Jason Tatum is still out with an Achilles injury. So here we go for the opening tip-off. Miami wins the tip, and here we go for tonight's game. Davion Mitchell brings it up to the floor. Davion Mitchell guarded by Derek White. Here comes Norman Powell for three. Go Norman Powell Ranger. That's a three for Miami. And the Heat are now on the board. All right, here comes Derek White, guarded by Davion Mitchell. He gives it to Jaylen Brown. Brown guarded by Powell. Jaylen Brown finds Derek White. Derek White guarded by Wiggins. There's a long three, and that one rims off. Rebound by Miami. Here comes Pelle Larsson. Larsson driving in, finds Bam. Bam is cornered. Right, Miami swinging the ball around. They lose the ball. All right, here comes Boston. Jaylen Brown guarded by Andrew Wiggins. Jaylen Brown missing that layup. Rebound by Davion Mitchell. Mitchell to Powell. Powell, long three. That rims off. Rebound by Boston. Here comes Derek White, guarded by Davion Mitchell. All right. Derek White now guarded by Bam. Derek White looking for somebody to set the screen. Gives it to Sam Hauser for three. That one rims off. Rebound by Amos Keita. Keita now loses the ball and is stolen away by Norman Powell. Powell finding Davion Mitchell. Corner three. I'm sorry, that was Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Chief Wiggins, three for Miami. All right, here comes the Boston Celtics again. Derek White guarded by Davion Mitchell. Now Bam is guarding Derek White. And that's going to be an offensive foul on the Celtics. So it's going to be Heat ball. Right now, Miami's trying to get themselves back into a groove. All right, here comes Davion Mitchell. Mitchell finding Norman Powell, and that one's it's gonna say it's a three, but go Norman Powell Ranger. They're gonna say it's a three for now. But nope, they changed it to a two-pointer. His foot was on the line, so it's now an 8-0 run for Miami. All right, here he comes. Because a long three for Boston. That one rims off. Another rebound for Miami. Here comes Norman Powell, finding Pelle Larsson. Out to Wiggins for three. That one rims off. Rebound by Boston. Here comes Derek White. Derek White driving into the lane. And he gets Boston on the board. Took them a while, but the Celtics are now on the board. All right, here comes Norman Powell. He gets fouled, and he will go to the line for two free throws. Fouled on Amos Keita. There it is again. Norman Powell trying to go for the basket, but he misses. I'm sorry, Miami will have it side out instead, And we get our first look at Nikola Vucevic making his Boston Celtics debut. Again, Vucevic, no stranger to the Miami Heat, having played against them as a member of both the Orlando Magic and the Chicago Bulls. And there's Norman Powell with the floater, and that brings Miami up by 8. Here comes Derek White. He gives it to Sam Hauser. Here comes Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown missing that basket. Rebound recovered by Miami. Here comes Andrew Wiggins. Wiggins gives it to Larson. Larson to Bam. Bam. But Wiggins is there for the putback. And that's going to prompt a Boston Celtics timeout. So far, so good for the Miami Heat in this one. They lead 12-2. We'll be back for more Heat action, courtesy of Kendall Sports Network. And we are back. Score is 12-2. Score is 12-2 for Miami. Of course, Nikola Vucevic was traded to the Boston Celtics, part of a big trade that saw Anthony Simons go to the Chicago Bulls, Josh Minott go to the Brooklyn Nets, Xavier Tillman going to the Charlotte Hornets, and Chris Boucher going to the Utah Jazz. Also joining Nikola Vucevic is John Tonji. I'm not sure who that is. But right now, Miami does have a sizable lead. All right, so it's now 13-2 Miami instead of 12-2. Like I had originally thought. They had given Norman Powell that three-pointer back. All right, here comes Jaylen Brown. Out to Sam Hauser. Hauser finds Derek White for 3. That one rims off. Rebound goes to Miami. Norman Powell recovers the ball and gives it to Bam. Bam with the spot-up jumper, and he knocks it down. And right now, Miami has a 13-point lead in this game. All right, here comes Boston now. Bam guarding Derek White. Gives it to Jaylen Brown. Brown for 3. That one rims off. Rebound by Miami. The Heat are getting aggressive for the defensive rebounds right now. They're shooting 60% from the field, and here's a 3 from Bam, and that one rims off. Rebound going to Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown mowing over Davion Mitchell. Here comes Derek White. There's a corner three uncontested, and that one rims off. Rebound by Miami. The ball is knocked loose. Let's see who it's going to be last touched by. Last touch by Boston. The referee said it was last touch by Boston. Hold on for a second. Let's see what happened. Let's look at the replay. Yeah, Pelle Larsson and Derek White were both fighting over the ball. So it's going right back to Boston. All right, so Derek White will inbound the ball. All right, gives it to Jaylen Brown, who loses the ball. Recovered by Davion Mitchell. Going coast to coast. Davion Mitchell gets his shot blocked by Jaylen Brown. But it will be out of bounds on Boston. All right, here we go. Miami will inbound the ball. Miami loses the ball. So we'll go right back to Boston. All right, so right now, all right, Boston bringing it up to the floor. All right, Jaime Jaquez Jr. is now in the game for Miami. And that's going to be a foul on the Heat. This one's going to be on Davion Mitchell. All right, so Boston will have a side out. Peyton Pritchard now has the ball, guarded by Davion Mitchell. All right, here comes Peyton Pritchard, missing that basket. And Nikola Vucevic gets the putback. And welcome to Boston, Nikola Vucevic. All right, here comes Jaime Jaquez Jr. He gives it to Bam. And Bam effortlessly gets the layup. The Heat right now have a 13-point lead in this game. All right, here come the Celtics. Peyton Pritchard. Finding Derek White. Corner three. That one rims off. Rebound by Miami. Here comes Norman Powell. Powell finds Jaquez. Jaquez in the lane. And he gets the layup. And that's going to prompt another Boston Celtics timeout. Joe Mazzulla is going to talk over some serious tactics right now as the Heat lead 19-4 in this one. And we are back. Score is 19-4 Miami. The Heat right now looking good so far. But you never know when the Celtics may come around and start knocking down their threes. So right now Boston will have the ball in their possession. So right now this Heat team's been looking pretty excellent on both ends of the floor, getting the defensive rebounds plus managing to get their baskets off. All right, here comes Peyton Pritchard, guarded by Drew Smith, who's now in the game for Miami. Give it to Jaylen Brown. Out to Vucevic. Vucevic passes it out to Peyton Pritchard for a long three. That one rims off. Rebound by Vucevic. And that one goes in for Boston. Sherman getting the basket. Right now it's 19-6 Miami. Here goes Pelle Larsson. Finds Drew Smith. Larsson finds Bam. Bam goes for the corner three. And Bam Adebayo knocks it down. Miami are up ahead 22-6. This one. All right, here comes Vucevic. Gives it to Jaylen Brown. All right, Boston passing the ball back to Peyton Pritchard. That's Sherman for three. That one rims off. Rebound by Drew Smith. Gives it to Hawkes. Norman Powell for the long three. That one rims off. Rebound by Miami. Hawkes finds Pelle Larsson. Bam going for another three. And Bam Adebayo sinks it again. Miami are up by 19 in this one. The threes are falling for Miami. All right, here we go. Peyton Pritchard now has the ball. Guarded by Drew Smith. Vucevic finds Sherman for the uncontested dunk. Solid play by the Celtics. All right, here comes Norman Powell. Powell driving his way into the lane. Finds Bam for another three. This one is an air ball. Rebound by Drew Smith. Here comes Jaime Hawkins for three. That one rips off. Rebound by Boston. Jaylen Brown. Guarded by Larsson. And Jaylen Brown will go to the line for 2 free throws. All right, so right now Jaylen Brown at the line for 2 free throws. Knocks down the first free throw. All right, Kelly Ware is now entering the game for Miami, replacing Pelle Larsson. And that basket goes in for Jaylen Brown, so he makes 2. All right, here comes Jaime Hawkes. That's a rebound for Boston. All right, here comes Peyton Pritchard. Finds Jaylen Brown driving into the lane. Gets caught up. Gives it to Peyton Pritchard. And Pritchard gets the basket. So right now, Boston are trailing by 13 in this one. Here comes Drew Smith. Drew Smith driving into the lane. And he gets the basket. Was looking for the foul, but doesn't get it. Miami leads by 15. Here comes Boston. Vucevic gives it to Jaylen Brown. Brown guarded by Wiggins. Here comes Jaylen Brown with a step back. Rims off. Rebound by Miami. Jaime Hawkes Jr. has the ball. Hawkes to Drew Smith. Drew Smith driving in, loses the ball. Last touch by Kelly Ware, and that will be Boston's ball. Derek White re-enters the game for Boston. Jaylen Brown's coming out of the game for Boston. All right, here comes Peyton Pritchard, guarded by Drew Smith. Pritchard missing that layup. Rebound by Jaime Jaquez Jr. Jaquez, that's a long three. And I think Sherman was the one who committed the foul. Not sure who he fouled. But Neemias Keita is coming back into the game for Boston. He replaces Nikola Vucevic. Right, Miami will have his side out. Here comes Wiggins. Wiggins loses the ball, and here comes Boston. Thought about going for the three, but instead passes it out. Here comes Peyton Pritchard to Keita. Derek White. Derek White gets his shot blocked. Ball rims out. And here comes Miami again. Here comes Jaquez. Jaquez finds Drew Smith. Kelly Ware for the corner three. That one rims off. Rebound goes to Boston. Plus there was a foul on the play. I think this one's going to be on, Simone Fontecchio or Andrew Wiggins. All right, Boston inbounds the ball. Derek White has it. White pulling up, misses the basket. Rebound by Andrew Wiggins. All right, here comes Wiggins. They gave the ball to Kelly Ware. That's off the rim, and here comes Boston again. All right, here comes that corner three, and Boston gets the first corner three of their game. Sherman knocking it down. All right, here comes Jaime Jaquez Jr. Jaime Jaquez Jr. guarded by Neemias Keita. Here comes Jaquez driving into the lane, and he gets the layup. All right, here comes Boston again. Derek White has it, guarded by Drew Smith. That rims off, and that will end the first quarter. A very impressive first quarter for Miami against the Boston Celtics. We saw lots of defensive rebounds, some second chance points, some three-pointers here and there. The offense looked good so far as they lead 29-15. Stick around for more basketball in the second quarter, courtesy of Kendall Sports Network. And we have some comments here. Shout out to everyone in the chat, including KSN. This is from Brother BKL Sports Entertainment Show. Big ups to you, sir. Or ma'am. Well, big ups to you indeed. Shout out to everyone in the chat, including KSN. Keep up the good work on the channel. Appreciate it, and shout out from the South Bronx. Brother BKL Contreras, aka Sports Entertainment Guy. Oh, thank you, Brother Contreras. That means a lot to us. That means a lot to us. Hopefully we get to collaborate with you in the future. We might do a podcast or or something regarding the NBA. And Luis Ruben says, good evening from Canada. Good evening to you, our friend from the north. Hope you are enjoying this Heat game so far. If you have any questions or comments regarding the midseason trade deadline and like to offer some criticisms on the Miami Heat, mainly the front office, feel free to drop some comments and I'll respond to them. And we are back. Score is 29-15 Miami. The Heat are shooting 50% from the field, while Boston is 25%. And there's broken up alley-oop by Miami. Here comes Simone Fontecchio. Finds Jaquez. Out to Kelly Ware. Kelly Ware driving into the lane. Missing the layup and rebound by Boston. All right, here comes the Celtics. Payne Pritchard. Gives it to Derek White for three. That one rims off. Rebound by Boston. But there's a foul on the play, and that's going to be on Miami. This one's going to be on Jaime Jaquez Jr., so Boston will have his side out instead. All right, here come Payton Pritchard. That's a three. That one rims off. And that ball will still remain with Boston. Sherman missing that three-pointer right there. All right, here comes Boston again. Almost stolen away by Drew Smith, but will remain Boston ball. Boston has the ball now. And that's going to be a foul at the three-point line. That one's on Drew Smith, fouling Payton Pritchard. If I said it once, I'll say it again. You don't foul a shooter when they are going for the three. That is an unwritten rule in the game of basketball. So Payne Pritchard's at the line. He knocks down the first free throw. Knocks down the second. And Payne Pritchard knocks down all three. So now it's an 11-point game for Miami. Here comes Drew Smith. Smith passes it out to Fontecchio. Out to Wiggins. Wiggins fades away. Misses it. Rebound by Kelly Ware. Kelly Ware. Let's see what he's going to do. And he gets the basket. Miami's up by 13 in this one. All right, Derek White for three. Rims off. Rebound by Neemias Queta. Queta gives it out to Payton Pritchard for three. That one rims off. Rebound by Hawkins. Miami pushing it up to the floor in a hurry. Fontecchio gets fouled, and he will go to the line for 2 free throws. Miami showing some sense of urgency. Wish they showed a sense of urgency where it mattered, but we'll get to that later on in halftime. Okay, Simone Fontecchio at the line for Miami. Fontecchio knocks down the first. Simone Fontecchio already shooting 80% from the charity stripe, and he's knocked down the second. Right now, Miami has a 15-point lead in this game. All right, here comes Boston. Derek White finds Peyton Pritchard. Nemius Kitchen recovers the ball, and he gets the layup over Kel'el Ware. So it's now a 13-point lead for Miami. All right, here comes Kel'el Ware for 3. That one rims off. Ball's going everywhere, and it goes right back to Boston. There's a 3 on the way. That's a miss for Boston. Rebound by Miami. Here comes Jaime Jaquez Jr. Jaquez flies in and gets the basket plus the and one opportunity. Very sharp performance so far from Miami on both ends of the floor, especially on the defensive end. All right, Hawkins right now going for the and one opportunity. So far this season, he's averaged 15 points per game and 5.4 rebounds per game, along with 4 assists. All right, Nikola Vucevic is back in the game for Boston. He replaces Nemius Queta. And Hawkins knocks down the and one opportunity. So it's now a 16-point game for Miami. All right, here comes Jaylen Brown. And he gets the layup. So it's now a 14-point game for Miami. Here comes Jaime Jaquez Jr. Jaquez guarded by Derek White. Boston is swarming all over the place on defense, and they come up with the steal. Peyton Pritchard, pull up 3. That one rims off. Here comes Boston again. They lose the ball, and it's covered by Miami. Here comes Hawkins. Andrew Chief Wiggins, 3 for Miami. All right, here comes Boston again. Nikola Vucevic missing that 3. Rebound by Kel'el Ware. Here comes Jaime Jaquez Jr. Wiggins again for 3. Andrew Chief Wiggins, 3 for Miami. And that's going to prompt a timeout for Boston. Right now, the Heat are rolling as they have a 20-point lead. They're ahead 42 to 22. And Ronka God 1988 says, "Let's go Heat. You shout me out from Peanuts. Always watching you every time live." Thank you, Ronka. Piñas mean from the Philippines? Are you from the Philippines? If so, we appreciate you. I'm glad we have some fans out there. I mean, it's international right now. It's very international. We got people from Canada, the Philippines. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. I love it. And yes, we are shouting you out. So right now, the Heat have a 20-point lead, and this game continues to look good for them on both ends of the floor. And we are back. Score is 42-22. Miami right now on a 13-4 run. Here comes Jaylen Brown. Going to the uncontested dunk, and he got all of it. It's now an 18-point game for the Heat. Here comes Hawkins. Finds Kelly Ware to Davion Mitchell. Mitchell driving in. Gets fouled, and he will go to the line for 2 free throws. That was a nasty dunk by Jaylen Brown right there. All right now, Davion Mitchell at the line. He misses the first free throw. All right, Pella Larson and Bam Adebayo is re-entering the game for Miami, along with Norman Powell. They replace Kelly Ware and Jaime Hawkins Jr. And Davion Mitchell goes 1 of 2 from the line. All right, here comes Boston now. Jaylen Brown, guarded by Bam. Brown finds Derek. All right, back to Jaylen Brown again. And Jaylen Brown will go for the and one after that foul on Bam. There it is again. This was you would think a mismatch like this would be in Bam's favor, but Jaylen Brown with a quick hand to get the basket off. All right, Jaylen Brown right now, he has 8 points and 2 rebounds in this game. And he knocks down that basket. All right, here comes Bam, driving into the lane. Thought about going for the 3. Passes it out to Norman Powell. Here comes Powell, driving in. Kicks it out to Bam for the corner 3. That one rims off. Rebound. Nope. Thought that rebound was going to go to Pella Larson, but instead it's tapped out by Boston. So it'll be Heat ball. All right, here comes Bam. And Bam knocks down the jumper. So right now it's an 18-point game for Miami. All right, here comes Vucevic. He gives it to Derek White. Rims out, rebound by Miami. Here comes Davion Mitchell. The Heat are going on a fast pace right now. Fontecchio for 3. That one rims off. Rebound going to Miami. Here comes Bam. Finds Larson. Larson thought about going for the 3, but that one is stolen away by Luka Garza. Finds Jaylen Brown, but he gets fouled. So I think that's going to be either 2. Yeah, that's going to be 2 free throws for Boston. But instead, we're going to have ourselves a timeout. Miami's leading this one. They lead 45-27. And Ron Kagat 1988 says, yes, the Philippines. Hey, we got some fans out in the Philippines. Love it. Salamat, as they say in the Philippines, which means thank you. Salamat to you, sir. So right now, if you guys have questions or comments regarding the Miami Heat and the mid-season trade deadline, feel free to leave some comments, and I'll answer them for you during halftime. And we are back. Score is 45-27 Miami. The Heat right now looking good so far. I mean, after that nice play, Jaylen Brown got fouled by Davion Mitchell. So instead, we're going to have a jump ball, it appears. So we're going to have ourselves a jump ball between Bam and Vucevic. All right, Boston wins the tip, and here comes the Celtics. Jaylen Brown drives in, gets fouled, and he will go to the line for 2 free throws. All right, Jaylen Brown going to the line for Boston. All right. Jaylen Brown knocks down the first free throw. And he goes 1 of 2 from the line. Rebound by Miami. All right, here comes Norman Powell driving into the lane, and he gets the layup. Norman Powell again from Miami. He have a 21-point lead in this one. Sorry, a 19-point lead. My mistake. 19-point lead. All right, here comes Boston again. Jaylen Brown now has it. Jaylen Brown drives into the lane, gets fouled, and he will go to the line for 2 more. That was going to be on Pelle Larsson. All right, Jaylen Brown at the line, knocks down the first free throw. And Jaylen Brown goes 1 of 2 from the line again. Rebound by Miami. Here comes Norman Powell. Gives it to Pelle Larsson. Larsson finds Davion Mitchell. Misses that one. Rebound by Boston. Here comes Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown drives in. Gets the layup. And right now the Boston Celtics are within 16. Here comes Miami. Jaylen Brown right now with 13 points, shooting 40% from the field. Davion Mitchell kicks it out to Norman Powell. That's a 3. And I think he got fouled. I think that foul's going to be on Derek White. Let's look at it again. Davion Mitchell kicks it out to Norman Powell. Going for the 3. And I think Derek White did touch him. So Derek White will have a seat on the bench. Right, referees are looking to see if there was a A flagrant foul on Boston. And they're trying to see if this is either a flagrant one or a personal one. Because Derek White did lean right into Norman Powell's shooting space. And that's something you don't do in basketball. So the referees will call it a flagrant foul on Derek White, and there will be 3 free throws for Norman Powell. So Norman Powell will go to the line for 3 free throws. All right, Derek White is coming back into the game for Boston. All right, these are 3 technical free throws. Norman Powell knocks down the first. He knocks down the second. And Norman Powell sinks all 3 free throws. Miami will have possession of the ball. All right, here comes Norman Powell. Powell driving in. Ball goes out of bounds. Last touch by Miami. It will be Boston ball. All right, here comes Jaylen Brown, guarded by Pelle Larsson. And that's a nice block from behind by, I think that was Bam who blocked that shot. No, wait, Simone Fontecchio was the one who blocked that shot. So Boston will have it side out instead. Let's look at it again. Yeah, Fontecchio swatted that one out of the court. All right, Pelle Larsson will come out of the game for Miami, and I think there's going to be a discussion going on between Jaylen Brown and, let's see what happened here. Pelle Larsson took a shot to the face from Jaylen Brown. I think that Eric Spoelstra is discussing some matters with the referee as the cleaning crew are wiping up the floor. Here it is again. Pelle Larsson is guarding Jaylen Brown. And Jaylen Brown swung around and headbutted Pelle Larsson with the back of his head. Pelle Larsson's been taking a lot of shots lately, on and off the court, but he should be fine either way. All right, right now, Boston will have the ball side out. All right, here comes Jaylen Brown. Gives it to Nikola Vucevic. Finds Luka Garza. Back to Jaylen Brown. Back to Vucevic. Vucevic losing the ball, and here comes Miami. Fontecchio, spot up three. That one rims out. Rebound by Jaylen Brown. All right, here comes Brown. Brown drives in, and he gets the basket. So right now it's a 17-point lead for Miami. Here comes Andrew Wiggins. Finds Bam. All right, they find Norman Powell. Norman Powell gets fouled. No, he doesn't get fouled. Ball goes out of bounds. Last touch by Miami. It'll be Boston ball. And Jaylen Brown is down. Jaylen Brown is limping right now. Does not look. Yeah, Jaylen Brown is limping off the court. He's walking very gingerly. Yeah, oof. I just saw him do a dip limp. So he is. He's taking a seat on the bench. All right, here comes Derek White. White guarded by Bam. All right, here comes Peyton Pritchard. Finds Derek White for three. That one rims off. Rebound by Miami. Fontecchio gives it to Wiggins. Wiggins knocks down the jumper. And right now it's a 19-point lead for Miami. All right, here comes Peyton Pritchard. Pritchard guarded by Davion Mitchell. All right, now picked up by Bam. Pritchard looking for someone to pass the ball to. All right, he gets the ball back. Loses the ball. And I think that's going to be out of bounds on Miami. So it will be Boston ball. All right, here comes Jaylen Brown. Step back three. That one goes over the backboard and out of bounds. Right now, Boston has 7 turnovers to Miami 6. Davion Mitchell now has the ball. Davion Mitchell passes it out to Wiggins. Wiggins makes the jumper, and right now it's a 19-point lead for Miami. Sorry, it's a 21-point lead for Miami. Excuse me. 21-point lead. All right, here comes Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown goes for three. That one rims off. Rebound by Hawkes. Here comes Davion Mitchell. Mitchell gives it to Hawkes. Hawkes missing that one. Rebound by Boston. Here comes Peyton Pritchard. Pritchard guarded by Hawkes. Pritchard with the turnaround. Misses that one. Rebound by Bam. All right, here comes Jaime Hawkes. Hawkes to Bam. Bam gets fouled. So right now, Bam goes to the line for 2 free throws. Bam misses the first free throw. All right, Neemias Keita will take a seat for Boston. And Bam misses both free throws. All right, right now, here comes Derek White. White passes it out. And that's going to be a foul on Miami. That will send Nikola Vucevic to the line for 2 free throws. Nikola Vucevic missing the first free throw. Sam Hauser returning to the game for Boston. Luka Garza will take a seat. And Vucevic knocks down that second free throw. All right, here comes Miami, pushing it in a hurry. Norman Powell sinks the layup. Right now, Miami are on a roll. They're leading by 18 in this one. All right, here comes Jaylen Brown. Brown almost lost the ball. Here comes Sam Hauser. Back to Brown. Jaylen Brown gets the uncontested dunk over Bam. And here comes Miami now. Wiggins getting an uncontested dunk of his own. And right now, Miami has a 20-point lead in this one. Boston is still swinging the ball around. And there goes Derek White. All right, here comes Bam. All right, Miami having 20 points in the paint to Boston's 22. Bam in the paint against Vucevic. Missing that basket. Rebound by Jaylen Brown. All right, here comes Jaylen Brown. Guarded by Wiggins. Vucevic setting a screen. That rebound goes out of bounds. Last touch by Boston. All right, here comes Hawkes. Hawkes guarded by Derek White. All right, here comes Hawkes driving into the lane. He gets fouled and he will go to the line for 2 free throws. All right, Derek White was the one who committed that foul. So that will send Hawkes to the line. He has 7.6 rebounds in this game, along with 4 assists. He knocks down the first free throw. And he goes 1 of 2 from the line. Rebound by Nikola Vucevic. Here comes Boston. Derek White has the ball. Finds Hauser for 3. And that rims out. And that will end the second quarter. The Heat right now are very dominant right now against Boston. Excuse me. The Heat are looking very dominant against Boston right now. Getting not only the 3-pointers to fall, but also attacking the paint and getting defensive rebounds against Boston. The Heat lead 59-38. All right, as I mentioned before, if you have any questions or comments regarding the Heat and their mid-season trade deadline, or what they did or what they didn't do, more likely, feel free to drop a comment or question and I'll answer it for you. I mean, so far in this game, Miami looks good. But the key to beating Boston is they need consistency. And right now, that's what they need. They may have a 21-point lead, but they need consistency in order to stay ahead and keep that lead intact. All right. Luis Rubin says, let's await the Heat's performance in the third quarter as they have a tendency to collapse. That is true. In recent games, Miami has a tendency to collapse in the third quarter, and that's been their main weakness so far. Like I said, if Miami maintains consistency against Boston, meaning beating them to the punch on rebounds, getting second chance points, and being able to draw fouls and making the extra passes while doing the pick and roll, I think that's going to work out for them. So that's that's some keys and some pointers that Miami needs in the second half. Because even though they're full throttle in the first half, they come out as the direct opposite in the second half. So Miami needs to keep that aggressiveness going. And speaking of aggressiveness, if you have any questions regarding what the Heat did or rather did not do during the midseason trade deadline, please feel free to drop some comments. Please feel free to drop some questions and I'll answer them for you. Because Miami has some assets. The Heat has some assets lingering around in their roster, but they just didn't want to do anything about it. They didn't want to give up. They didn't want to give up some players to get Ja Morant, and of course the whole Giannis Antetokounmpo fiasco, where Giannis announced that he wanted to stay with the Milwaukee Bucks. That's just code for he's gonna be a free agent, that many teams are gonna. He's going to be a free agent that many teams are going to fight over. And a lot of teams such as Minnesota, New York, and even Miami are going to fight over him. So again, Giannis remaining on the Bucks throughout the end of the season just means wait till the free agency market in the summer. That's what it means. All right. Luis Rubin asks, why did Giannis stay with the Bucks? I think it's more of Giannis having cold feet, or the Bucks not wanting to go through a full rebuild. Because ever since Milwaukee won the 2021 NBA Finals, ever since they won that championship 5 years ago, Milwaukee hasn't done anything right by Giannis. Some key players ended up leaving for other teams. Giannis had to struggle with players that weren't consistent. Even more so, the Bucks are not in a good standing in the Eastern Conference. Last I checked, I think they were either 11th or 12th place in the East. So that means that team's not gonna fight for a play-in spot. So, in my thing, I think it's like a miscommunication from both Giannis and the Bucks. I mean, Giannis didn't do enough to ask the front office or confirm to the front office that he wanted to go to another team. So in doing so, Giannis kind of led a lot of teams on, and there was just these swirling rumors about him being in Golden State, or him going to the New York Knicks, or even the Los Angeles Lakers. Either way, I think Giannis didn't know what he wanted to do or wanted to convey to the Bucks front office. So I think it was a lack of expression and a lack of communication on both ends from both sides. All right, and Luis also says the Hornets are looking good. That team is low-key looking good right now. LaMelo Ball's got that team where they need to be, and I think they might sneak in the play-in. They might sneak in the play-in. I think as a 10th seed, most likely. I think I can see them being a 10th seed and getting into the postseason that way. So you got LaMelo Ball, you got Brandon Miller, you have Con Kneppel, who last I checked, he balled out against Cooper Flag. And they put on a two-man show. So both of those guys look like the future for the NBA. Not to mention that Con Kneppel was, if I recall correctly, was a teammate of Cooper Flag. So the Hornets look very good right now. And Melvin Amerson says, "Let's go Heat." Yes, let's go Heat indeed. The Heat right now are thriving, but come the second half, we don't know if they're going to be thriving with that lead of theirs. So if you guys have more comments, more questions about the free agency or what the Miami Heat need to do and who they need to acquire in the buyout market, feel free to drop some comments or questions and I'll answer them for you guys. And we are back. Score ready for the third quarter. Miami right now, they have a 21-point lead over Boston. All right, here come the Celtics. Derek White passes it out to Jaylen Brown. Brown back to White. White to Hauser. Hauser to Brown. Here comes Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown driving into the lane, and he gets the basket. All right, Jaylen Brown will go to the line for the and one. All right, that foul's going to be on Simone Fontecchio. All right, here comes Jaylen Brown. Misses the and one opportunity. Gets his own rebound. Jaylen Brown backing down Davion Mitchell. And Luka Garza's there for the putback. Right now the Celtics are trying to get themselves back into this game. Davion Mitchell going for the three. That one rims out. Ball last touch by the Heat. It will be Boston ball. All right, here come the Celtics again. Jaylen Brown has it. Gives it to Derek White. To Sam Hauser. Back to Jaylen Brown. Brown guarded by Fontecchio. Brown fades away and he knocks it down. All right, here come the Heat. It's a 15-point game for them. All right, here comes Wiggins. Gives the ball to Davion Mitchell. Wiggins for three. That one rims off. Rebound by Neemias Queta. And here comes Jaylen Brown. Brown gives it to Queta. Queta gives it to Derek White. Derek White with a spin. Drives in. Misses the layup. Rebound to Miami. Here comes Davion Mitchell to Wiggins. Wiggins missing that layup, but he gets fouled. So that will send Andrew Wiggins to the line for 2 free throws. That foul is going to be on Sam Hauser. Andrew Wiggins missing the first free throw. All right, Myron Gardner is now in the game for Miami. He replaces Simone Fontecchio. And Andrew Wiggins goes 1 of 2 from the line. Here comes Jaylen Brown. All right, Brown guarded by Wiggins. Brown almost lost the ball, and he does. Here comes Norman Powell driving into the lane. That ball goes out of bounds. Last touch by the Celtics. So it will be Heat ball. All right, it looks like Norman Powell is limping a bit. Not sure what's going on. It looks like is Norman Powell trying to call for something. It appears that he is running off the court. And he's in a bad way. Looks like it could be a finger injury. All right, Miami will inbound the ball. Here comes Davion Mitchell. Mitchell to him for 3. That one rims off. Rebound by Myron Gardner. Gardner quickly gives it to Bam. Bam to Davion Mitchell. Mitchell for three. That one rims off. Rebound by Tyler Larson. That ball goes out of bounds. Last touch by Boston. And yep, Norman Powell is heading to the back to be evaluated. Let's look at it again. Ooh, must have been a sprained wrist or sprained finger. All right, here comes Miami. Davion Mitchell for three. And good night, off night, Davion Mitchell, three from Miami. All right, here comes Derek Brown. Brown guarded by Bam. Jaylen Brown drives in. Wait, did I say Derek Brown? I meant to say Derek White. So that ball goes out of bounds on Boston. So it'll be Heat ball. All right, here comes Andrew Wiggins. Wiggins missing the layup, and here comes Boston. Jaylen Brown missing the layup again, and here comes Miami on a fast break. Fontecchio misses it. Rebound by Boston. But thought it was stolen away by Miami, but that's going to be, I think that's going to be a foul on. Yeah, that's going to be a foul on the Heat. All right, right now, here comes Derek White. Here comes Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown for three. That's a miss for Boston. Ball goes out of bounds. It will be last touch by Celtics. Here comes Myron Gardner missing that corner three. Rebound by Boston. All right, here comes Jaylen Brown. Brown kicks it out to Derek White. Derek White drives in. Misses it. Rebound by Neemias Queta. Queta finds Brown. Brown for three. And downtown, Jaylen Brown, three for Boston. All right, here comes Wiggins. Wiggins to Davion Mitchell. To Fontecchio. Here comes Davion Mitchell. Davion Mitchell drives in, and he gets a layup. So right now it's an 18-point game. Here comes Jaylen Brown. Brown gives it to Hauser. Right, Boston still has the ball. Derek White, here he comes. Gives it to Sam Hauser. And Sam Hauser knocks it down. Right, here comes Bam, but he gets fouled. That's going to be a reach-in foul on Boston. So that's going to send Bam to the line for 2 free throws. And Bam knocks down the first free throw. And Bam knocks down both free throws. So right now the Heat are leading by 18 in this one. All right, here comes Jaylen Brown, guarded by Fontecchio. Loses the ball, and here comes Miami. But that's going to be a foul on Jaylen Brown, tripping up Myron Gardner. Here it is again. Jaylen Brown losing the ball, try to get fancy with it. But then Myron Gardner came through with a steal, and he gets tripped up by Jaylen Brown. So that's going to prompt a Heat timeout. Right now, the Heat still have the lead, and they're up 67-49. All right. All right, we are back. Miami right now, they have a little 5-0 run going against the Boston Celtics as they lead 67-49 in this one. All right, here comes the Heat. Davion Mitchell. Davion Mitchell driving into the lane. Finds Myron Gardner. Gardner. Out to Wiggins. Wiggins. Loses the ball, and here comes Boston. Peyton Pritchard finding Derek White, back to Peyton Pritchard again. Pritchard guarded by Bam. Gives it to Sam Hauser. Here comes Vucevic. Loses the ball, but he gets fouled. So I think that's going to be 2 free throws for Vucevic. No, I think that's either 2 free throws or a side out for Boston. All right, so it's going to be side out for Boston. Here comes Vucevic. Almost loses the ball. Miami recovers it. Here comes Bam. Wiggins out to Davion Mitchell. Here comes Davion Mitchell driving in. Finds Bam. Bam almost lost the ball. Wiggins recovers it. Here comes Myron Gardner. Simone Fontecchio missing that easy layup. And here comes Boston. All right, here comes Peyton Pritchard. Derek White out to Pritchard to Sam Hauser. Hauser to Pritchard. Here comes Pritchard. Step back 3. He knocks it down. Peyton Pritchard knocks down that 3. All right, here comes Bam. And that's a steal for Boston. Here comes Derek White. White swings it out. Derek White gets his own three, and he knocks it down, and that's gonna prompt a Heat timeout. The Heat right now have the lead. It's an 8-point lead. Not an 8-point lead. It scores 67-55 for Miami, and it's a 12-point lead right now for the Heat, and they need to take control of this game soon and fast. 67-55 is your score. All right. And Bronca God 1988 says, "Hi sir, please update about Norman Powell." Well, Norman Powell did suffer an injury. I'm not sure whether it's to one of his fingers or his wrist, but he definitely got injured trying to pass the ball out. Where it bounced off of I think Peyton Pritchard's midsection. Yeah, he did get injured. I'm not sure if it was his fingers or his wrist, but I'm very sure he's not coming back to the game. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Norman Powell is done for the night. And we are back. Score is 67-55 Miami. The Celtics right now are on a run of their own, but Miami needs to come back with some baskets. All right, Jaime Jaquez Jr. is now in the game for Miami. So far in this quarter, Boston's shooting 7 for 11 from the field. Miami only 2 for 11. And there's another rebound for Boston. Here comes Derek White. Gives it to Peyton Pritchard. Pritchard to White. White guarded by Bam. Peyton Pritchard guarded by Simone Fontecchio. Peyton Pritchard, another step back three, and he knocks it down. Right now, Boston are still on a roll, and Miami is yet to answer back. A 9-0 run for the Celtics. And right now, the Celtics are being the aggressor. They're trying to get this lead for themselves. All right. And we get Nikola Jovic entering the game for Miami. All right, here comes Drew Smith. Smith finding Jaquez. Here comes Jaquez. Jaquez with the fadeaway. But no, that's going to be a double dribble or traveling violation on the Heat. Celtics right now are benefiting from the Heat's mistakes. All right, here comes Derek White. White finds Vucevic. Gives it to Peyton Pritchard. Pritchard to Vucevic. Back to Pritchard. Ball goes out of bounds, and it was last touched by the Heat. All right, Kelly Ware enters the game from Miami. He replaces Bam Adebayo. All right, and here comes Peyton Pritchard, gets fouled, and we'll go to the line for the and one. Peyton Pritchard, all kinds of hyped up, and the Boston faithful are letting him hear it. Peyton Pritchard getting that basket up over Kelly Ware, that was crazy. And Peyton Pritchard knocks down the and one. Right now, it's a 6-point lead for Miami. Boston going on a 12-0 run. Here comes Nikola Jovic. Finds Hawkins for three. Hawkins knocks down that three. Jaime Hunwick Hawkins 3 for Miami. Here comes Boston. All right, the Celtics are passing the ball to give it to Peyton Pritchard. Pritchard driving in. Missing that basket. Rebound by Boston. Peyton Pritchard has it. To Derek White. Vucevic sets the screen. Finds Vucevic for the uncontested basket. And right now, Miami's double-digit lead is down to 7. Here comes Hawkins. Hawkins loses the ball, and here comes Boston again. Sherman missing that basket. Rebound by Kelly Ware. Here comes Hawkins again. Hawkins backing down Pritchard. All right. Okay, we have Norman Powell back in the game. Drew Smith missing that basket. Rebound by Boston. The Celtics are still on a roll right now. All right, here comes Derek White. Passes it out to Vucevic. Vucevic gets the rebound and the putback. Right now, it is a 5-point game for Miami. The Celtics are on a 16-3 run. And Eric Spoelstra has seen enough, and we have ourselves a Heat timeout. The Celtics right now are back into this one. Even though Miami has a lead, that lead is dwindling fast. The Heat lead 70-65. And we will be back for more Heat action. And to Ronka God 1988, Norman Powell is back in the game for Miami. We all thought it was going to be an injury scare, but yeah, he is back. And Luis Rubin says a collapse is on the way. Unfortunately, it is. Unless Miami can turn things around, the Heat can't afford a collapse right now. They just can't. Not against Boston. The Heat just needs to figure some things out. The Heat needs to figure some things out and fast. All right, we're back in action. Miami has a 5-point lead. Jaime Hawkins gets the rebound. And Boston recovers the ball. And I think that's going to be a foul on think that's going to be a foul on Norman Powell. Right now, that's going to send, wow, Callaware losing the ball to Peyton Pritchard and Sam Hauser on that 2-on-1. Alonzo Mourning, Shaquille O'Neal could never. All right, Nikola Vucevic at the line for Boston. He knocks down the first free throw. And Andrew Wiggins re-enters the game for Miami. Vucevic right now has 8 points and 10 rebounds in this game. And Vucevic knocks down both free throws. So right now, Boston are on an 18-3 run. All right, here comes Jaime Jaquez Jr. Out to Drew Smith. All right, here comes Smith. Out to Jovic for three. That one rims off. And here comes Boston. All right, Peyton Pritchard guarded by Jovic. And there's Vucevic for the basket. And right now the Celtics are within one right now. A 20-3 run by Boston. Sheesh. All right, here goes Norman Powell. Gets the layup, and that will ease the pain for Miami just for a little bit. Miami now has a 3-point lead in this game. All right, here comes Boston. Peyton Pritchard has the ball. Pritchard looking for the three. He loses the ball, but it goes out of bounds. Last touch by Drew Smith. It will be Boston's ball. Here comes Derek White for three. And just like that, the Celtics tie it at 72. Just like that, the Celtics tied at 72. As Jovic for three. That one rims off. Recovered by Boston. All right, here comes Derek White. Here comes Derek White, driving in. Loses the ball, but he gets fouled. Derek White will go to the line for 2 free throws. The Heat's big lead is no more. That 19-point lead they had completely vanished by the Boston Celtics in the third quarter. And Derek White makes the first free throw. All right, Luka Garza re-entering the game for Boston. And Derek White makes both free throws. All right, here comes Norman Powell. Gets fouled, and he will go to the line for 2 free throws. So Miami will have it side out instead. Thought that was 2 free throws, but Side out. Let's see what Miami can do. They give it to Norman Powell. Powell drives in at the buzzer. He gets it off. And we are tied at 74 to end the third quarter. Miami's lead was vanished by a 20-6 run led by Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, and the Boston Celtics, only for Norman Powell to respond with a buzzer beater to tie the game at 74 for Miami. Stick around because we got the fourth quarter coming soon. And Luis Rubin asks, who do you think has the momentum? As much as I want to say Miami, I think Boston has the momentum going forward in this game. They went on that ridiculous run and Miami did nothing to stop it other than getting a basket here and a basket there and leading up to Norman Powell getting a buzzer beater. So I think Boston right now has the edge against Miami. I think Boston has the edge right now because they're getting their shots to fall even though they've missed some in the first half. And again, Boston is very dangerous when it comes to three-pointers. You can't leave guys like Peyton Pritchard, Jaylen Brown, or Sam Hauser, or even Nikola Vucevic alone when they're going for the three. So right now, I think the Celtics have the better edge over Miami. But we'll see what happens in the fourth quarter. I'm not too keen on Miami doing anything that can get them back into this game, but anything can happen right now. Anything can happen. Okay, and we are back, ready to begin the fourth quarter. Both teams tied at 74. All right, Miami will have the ball. All right, here comes Drew Smith. Smith finds Jovic. Jovic, not sure what to do, passes it to Smith. Smith to Hawkes. Hawkes out to Jovic. Jovic back to Hawkes. Hawkes for three. That one rims out. Rebound by Boston. All right, here comes Peyton Pritchard again. Gives it to Luka Garza. Here comes Sherman. Out to Derek White. Derek White guarded by Jovic. Here comes Derek White driving in. Gets his shot blocked. And that's going to be that's going to be Celtics ball. And here comes, that's going to be a 24-second violation on Boston. All right, here comes Miami. Jovic gets his shot blocked from behind, and here come the Celtics. All right, here comes Derek White. Gives it to Peyton Pritchard. Pritchard now. Pritchard knocks down the basket and the Boston Celtics retake the lead. All right, here comes Miami. Wiggins to Jovic for the corner three. That one rims off. Rebound by Drew Smith. Gives it to Jovic again. Here comes Drew Smith. Corner three for Jovic. That one rims off. Rebound by Derek White. Here come the Celtics. Derek White, guarded by Drew Smith. Here comes Peyton Pritchard. Back out to Derek White for three. And that one falls. And that's going to prompt a Heat timeout. Right now, the Celtics have the edge against Miami as they lead 79-74. And we are back. Score is 79-74. Boston. Right now, the Heat look like they're a bit lost right now. I'm not sure if they can get back into this game. And Nikola Vucevic, he's having himself a decent debut for the Boston Celtics. Of course, Vucevic is no stranger to facing the Heat, having been a member of both the Orlando Magic and the Chicago Bulls. All right, here comes Norman Powell. Powell driving into the wing, and he gets the layup. All right, the Heat are trailing by 3, so they can get themselves back into this one. All right, here comes Boston now. Norman Powell wrestling the ball away, and now he's getting into it with Luka Garza. Both players had to be separated by their teams, and boy, this one is getting heated right now. This one is getting heated right now. Norman Powell had to be separated from Luka Garza. I'm sorry, Hugo Gonzalez, excuse me. And Norman Powell just wrestles the ball away from Norman Powell, wrestling the ball away from Hugo Gonzalez, and then getting right into it with him. Yeah, you can tell this one is getting very chippy. All right, there we see Luka Garza now in the game. All right, here comes Norman Powell. Powell for three. Go, go, Norman Powell Ranger. And he ties the game at 79. Oh, yeah, he's feeling it right now. He's feeling it right now. Here comes Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown guarded by Andrew Wiggins. Now, Jaylen Brown's guarded by Bam. Peyton Pritchard has the ball. He's going for the three. He's looking for the three. Misses the basket. Rebound by Vucevic. That one goes out of bounds. That was a nice three from Norman Powell. That woke up the Miami Heat. Right. Sherman comes out of the game for Boston, and in comes Sam Hauser. Another three-point threat. All right, here comes Jaylen Brown for three. That one rims out. Rebound to Peyton Pritchard for three, and he knocks it down, and that gives the Boston Celtics the lead again. All right, here comes Norman Powell. Powell driving in. Finds Wiggins for three, and Wiggins sinks the basket, and we're all tied at 82. All right, here comes Peyton Pritchard. Pritchard guarded by Bam. Now guarded by Norman Powell. Peyton Pritchard for three, and that one goes in. All right, here comes Miami. We give this to Norman Powell. Powell right now has a hot hand. Bam sets the screen. All right, here comes Bam. Bam with a step back. He misses it. Rebound by Jaylen Brown. Blocked by Bam. But that's going to be a foul on Bam? That one's going to be a foul on Bam. I thought that was a clean block. Jaylen Brown's going to the line for 2 free throws. Jaylen Brown already with 24 points and 6 rebounds in this game. Jaylen Brown missing the first free throw. And Jaylen Brown makes 1 of 2 from the line. All right, so here comes Miami. Here comes Jaime Jaquez Jr. Jaquez finds Davion Mitchell for 3. And good night, off night, Davion Mitchell rattles down the 3. Right now, Miami are within 1. Here goes Peyton Pritchard. Pritchard guarded by Bam. Pritchard directing traffic. Now he's guarded by Davion Mitchell. And Peyton Pritchard with the up and under. Nicely done. And that puts Boston up by 3. All right, here comes Davion Mitchell. Mitchell driving into the lane. And he gets the layup. So right now, Miami are within 1 back at 1 again. Here comes Peyton Pritchard. Pritchard guarded by Bam. Now guarded by Jaquez. Passes it out to Gonzalez. To Vucevic. Vucevic backing down Wiggins. Vucevic missing the basket. Rebound by Jaquez. Here comes Jaquez. Finds Wiggins. Wiggins driving into the lane. Gets the layup to give Miami the lead. And that's going to prompt a timeout for Boston. This fourth quarter has been back and forth. Both of these teams not giving an inch on each other. Pause. But the Heat have the lead 89-88. And Luis Rubin says, Powell is a determined leader. Yes, he is. He is more than determined. He has a fiery spirit, and I wouldn't have it no other way for any Miami Heat player. That's something that the Miami Heat need right now. A fiery spirit that doesn't take crap from nobody. That's what the Heat need. And that's what the Heat needs to exhibit in this game against Boston. Luis Rubin also says Miami is fighting. They're fighting with everything they have so far. It's a close game, and they do have a 1-point lead, but I still say Boston still has the edge. They need to get not only some key stops on the defense, but also getting to the rim and drawing fouls. That's how you manage to get things. That's how you manage to get things done and retake the lead and build upon it. So right now it's a 1-point game, but anything can still happen. And we are back. Score is 89-88. Miami has the lead right now. Both teams have been trading buckets, trading attitudes. And this one has been an intense, close, edge of your seat, dramatic game right now. I want to say it almost feels like it's a playoff game, but not necessarily. All right, here comes Derek White. Gives it to Peyton Pritchard. Gives it to Vucevic. Vucevic guarded by Bam. Here comes Peyton Pritchard. Jaylen Brown has it. Backing down Wiggins. Jaylen Brown misses the basket. Rebound by Bam. Here comes Davion Mitchell. Mitchell guarded by Pritchard. He gives it to Norman Powell. Norman Powell loses the ball, goes right out of bounds, and it will go right back to Boston. Miami right now with 11 turnovers, Boston having 13. Here comes Peyton Pritchard. Pritchard finding Vucevic. There's a corner three on the way. That rims out for Boston. Rebound by Bam. Here comes Davion Mitchell. He gives it to Hawkes. Hawkes backing down Peyton Pritchard. Hawkes going for the basket. That one rims out. Rebound by Boston. Here comes Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown gives it to Peyton Pritchard. Pritchard driving in. That's a corner three on the way. And that's going to be a foul on Davion Mitchell. And that will send Derek White to the line for 3 free throws. I said it once and I'll say it again. You don't foul a shooter when they're going for the three. And that one's going to be detrimental for Miami, because you just send a free throw shooter like Derek White to the line. That's easy buckets right there. Derek White knocks down the first free throw. Derek White makes the second free throw. So now Boston retakes the lead. And Derek White makes all 3 free throws. So right now it's a 2-point game. Here comes Davion Mitchell. Mitchell brings it up to the floor. He gives it to Norman Powell. Here comes Powell to Bam. Bam. And that ball goes right out of bounds. Last touch by the Celtics. Here it is again. Norman Powell driving through traffic, gives it to Bam. Bam gets fouled by Derek White. Here goes Bam to the line. He knocks down the first free throw. And he makes both free throws. So we're now tied at 91. Here comes Peyton Pritchard. Pritchard to Keita. Backed out to Pritchard. Pritchard guarded by Norman Powell. Here comes Derek White for 3. He misses it. Rebound by Wiggins. Here comes Davion Mitchell. Mitchell to Norman Powell. Powell to Davion Mitchell. Davion Mitchell driving in. Finds Andrew Wiggins for 3. And Andrew Chief Wiggins 3 for Miami. The Heat retake the lead. All right, here comes Jaylen Brown. Boston is swinging the ball around. They give it to Derek White. Back to Jaylen Brown. To Neemias Queta. He loses the ball. Recovered by Boston. Here comes Jaylen Brown. And Jaylen Brown gets the basket. Was looking for the foul, but instead we have a Miami Heat timeout. Woo! Back and forth we go, and this one is shaping up to be a classic between these two. Both teams are playing like this is the playoffs so far. And Boston are fighting. Boston is fighting and fighting hard. So is Miami. So far in this one, it's been a wild ride. So far, it's a wild ride. Drama, edge of your seat game. Miami is leading 94-93 in this contest. And we are back. Score is 94-93. Miami right now has the lead. All right. Davion Mitchell brings it up to the floor. Guarded by Peyton Pritchard. They find Norman Powell. Powell misses the layup. Rebound by Keita. Here comes Boston. Jaylen Brown brings it up to the floor. Guarded by Andrew Wiggins. All right, here comes Peyton Pritchard. Pritchard passes it out to Keita. Back to Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown goes for the three. That's an air ball. Ball goes out of bounds. Last touch by the Celtics. All right, Miami inbounds the ball. All right, here comes Davion Mitchell. Davion Mitchell, guarded by Peyton Pritchard. Davion drives in, gets the basket. And Miami is up by 3. All right, here comes Derek White. Finds Jaylen Brown. Back to Derek White. Gives it to Sam Hauser. Back to Brown. Brown guarded by Norman Powell. Jaylen Brown drives in and gets the layup. And the Heat leads back down to 1. Here comes Jaime Jaquez Jr. Jaquez gives it to Bam. Bam backing him down. Bam missing the basket. Rebound by Keita. All right, here come the Celtics. Jaylen Brown gets tangled up. And it looks like we're going to have ourselves a jump ball. I think we're going to have ourselves a jump ball. It looks like Jaylen Brown got tangled up with Bam. All right, Nikola Vucevic now entering the game for Boston. Neemias Keita comes out of the game. All right, Boston wins the tip. All right, here comes Peyton Pritchard. Pritchard looking for the three. Gives it to Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown, here he comes. Passing it out to Nikola Vucevic. Derek White, uncontested three. And he knocks it down to give the Boston Celtics the lead. All right, here comes Miami. Ball's knocked loose, and that goes right back to Boston. All right, here comes Jaylen Brown. Ball's knocked loose, recovered by Miami. Norman Powell for the long three. That one rims off. Rebound by Boston. All right, Jaylen Brown guarded by Wiggins. And no, basket does not count. Basket does not count. Jaylen Brown wants the challenge. I don't think they're going to get a challenge. No, wait. Joe Mazzulla wants the challenge. Look at this again. They're saying that basket. Jaylen Brown saying that basket should have counted. But referees calling it an offensive foul on Boston. Let's look at it again. No, it looked like Jaylen Brown leaned right into Andrew Wiggins. He leaned in with his elbow, hitting Wiggins in the chin. So I don't think there's no need for a challenge. Well, the referees are going to look at his. They're going to look at that replay anyway. Boston leading 98-96 in this one. All right, so let's hear what the referees have to say. So they are saying that's an offensive foul on Boston. So that's an offensive foul on Boston right now. I believe it is an offensive foul on Boston. All right, so right now, both teams Miami has 3 fouls so far, and Boston only 2. So far, this game feels like a playoff game. It's been close and down to the wire right now. All right, so Miami will have the ball side out. All right, here come the Heat. Davion Mitchell has the ball. Mitchell loses the ball, and here come the Boston Celtics. Right, Derek White dribbling the ball. He's taking time off the clock. There's Derek White going for the 3. He misses it. Rebound by Wiggins, and that's going to prompt a timeout for Miami. This one is a nail biter. This one is a nail biter for sure, ladies and gentlemen. Whatever the Heat have drawn up, they better find some. They better give it to somebody that can either win them the game or send it into overtime. Oh boy, this one has been edge of your seat. Edge of your seat. Because this whole game right here is just, it's been back and forth. Okay, so right now, Miami has the ball. They will have it side out. All right, Bam's going to inbound the ball. Gives it to Wiggins. Here comes Wiggins. Out to Davion Mitchell for the corner three. That one rims off. Ball goes out of bounds. And that was going to be last touched by Boston. I'm sorry, not Boston, but Miami. Not sure what's going on. Here goes Wiggins trying to drive into the lane. Passing it right out to Davion Mitchell for the corner three. And that one went out on Bam. That looked like it went out on Bam instead of Neemias Queta, because Bam was reaching for the ball. All right, here comes. And that's going to do it. The Boston Celtics come away with a close win against Miami. 98-96. Man, this one was back and forth. But right at the very end, a missed three-pointer from Davion Mitchell. I mean, Wiggins was right there to make the layup if he wanted to, but instead he passed it right out to Davion Mitchell. I hate seeing games like that go to the bitter end. But again, it's Miami. But what did them in was that third quarter collapse. That's what hurt them the most. That third quarter collapse against Boston. Boston went on that 26th run, and that was it. Miami, I know they got out to a big lead in the first half. But what good is maintaining that first half? What good is maintaining that lead if you're not able to conduct business in the second half? Again, the third quarter is what killed them. The third quarter is what hurt them the hardest. And yeah, this even though it was a close game, even though it was drama filled, this one hurt the most. This one was a real tough one to swallow. So right now, for the Heat, Davion Mitchell had 13 points. Norman Powell had 24 points. Bam Adebayo with 16.7 rebounds. Jaime Hawkins Jr. came off the bench with 11 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists. And Andrew Wiggins led the way with 26 points, 6 rebounds. And for the Boston Celtics, Derek White had 21 points. Payne Pritchard came off the bench with 24 points. Nikola Vucevic made his Boston Celtics debut with 11 points and 12 rebounds. And Jaylen Brown with 29 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 assists. Talk about a painful loss right there. Yeah, that's a painful loss for Miami. There's no excuses about that one. There should be no excuse for the Heat right now. None. And that was a tough loss for them to take in. So, next time we see the Heat, they will be back home. Next time we see the Heat, they will be back home on their court as they host the Utah Jazz. That game starts Monday at 7:30 p.m. and you can watch that on NBA League Pass and FanDuel Sports Network Sun. Again, Heat Jazz, Monday at 7:30 p.m. and you can watch that on NBA League Pass and FanDuel Sports Network Sun. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for tuning in for tonight's game. If you wanted to look at the scoreboard, the play-by-play, or you wanted to comment on what was going on in the NBA, as well as the Heat themselves, I appreciate it. And it means a lot to me. So shout outs to Luis Rubin, Ron Kagad, all the way from the Philippines, Melvin Amison, and Brother BKL Sports Entertainment Show, all the way from the South Bronx. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in and checking out Heat Zone Live. As I always say, take care of one another, love one another, be there for each other, even in the darkest moments of times. Always give love and make sure that love is reciprocated back to you, no matter what, because you never know when that day comes. I'm Deron Butler, reminding you to always run through the paint. Yeah, Miami definitely needs a good look in the mirror after not only two losses, but not doing anything during the midseason trade deadline and thinking that you have enough when you don't. That's something that the Heat need to really assess and see who or what they can do to salvage their season and who they can get during the buyout market. So that's something they really need to look into right now. So with that said, I love you guys. Take care. Treat each other with kindness and respect. And as always, go Heat.